Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Miss Farrah Mills. So, we need to talk. We need to talk about puberty blockers today. Now, there's been a lot of things happening in America with them banning puberty blockers for young people, especially for trans people, or specifically for trans people. Now, obviously, I'm only going to be covering trans women because I am a trans woman myself, and I don't really know that much information about trans men. So it would be wrong and pointless of me to talk about something I don't really know anything about. But I'm going to talk about the things I do know about trans women and growing up as a trans woman and the need for puberty blockers. Now, obviously, I'm a bit older, so when I was younger, we didn't have those things available. We didn't have any representation in the media for us. So most people my age, with a few exceptions, transitioned like in their late teens, early 20s, because by that point we had enough life experience to understand who we were and how we could go about transitioning. But of course, these days things have changed. We have a lot more representation in television, media, books, anything you can think of with trans representation. So younger people are putting two and two together a lot quicker and figuring out that they are a trans person, or a trans woman, should I say. And therefore they are expressing the need to want to be a woman earlier, before school or during school, primary school, things like that. Now, the thing with puberty blockers is, as Laverne Cox said in a speech quite recently, puberty blockers have been around for at least 40 years, and they originally were used for non-trans people to control moods and things like that. So basically, a puberty blocker is exactly what it sounds like. You are given a puberty blocker before you start puberty, and it pauses puberty. So therefore, a young trans person who maybe isn't quite sure or is not ready to transition yet, or isn't sure whether they are completely trans, because we all know, but we have to be given a little bit of time for us to figure out that is definitely for us. And we're fighting a losing battle with time, because obviously we go through puberty, and if it was in my case, I started puberty at 11, so therefore I would have needed like puberty blockers when I was like 8 or 9 or 10, which causes a problem for people outside of our community, because they feel that young people do not know who they are and can't understand such topics at that age, even though we don't ever question heterosexual children about their sexuality and their lifestyle, because that is the norm. But of course, if you are different, then it has to be looked into and decided by outside parties, which is the problem. All trans children would have benefited from having puberty blockers. I especially would have. Every other trans woman would have, because the thing with puberty blockers is it stops you from going into male puberty, the thing that all trans women hate and never want to have to go through. So I could have gone through school without having to go through male puberty. My voice would not have broken. I wouldn't have got as tall. I could have, even if I wasn't transitioned at school, just being able to go to school without going through male puberty would have been fantastic for me, because it means I would have been able to focus on my schoolwork and focus on my future and not have to worry about how I was feeling internally, hating my body changing into something I had no control over. And it would have made things so much easier for me to then transition after school, because then I could have started taking hormones, female hormones, and the puberty blockers would then allow me to transition into a woman. The thing also with puberty blockers is they are not dangerous to the body. They do not harm you in any way. All they do is put puberty on hold, and as soon as you come off them, puberty will regain. So there's no harm there. But what it does is it gives a young trans person the chance, the time to figure out who they are, get through school, whatever else they need to be doing, and it stops them having to worry about this time bomb that's ticking, of time that's running out before they get to the point of no return, which most of us have gotten through, where once your voice breaks and you get to a certain height and you can grow male characteristics, you then have to spend however many years, however much money on hormones, plastic surgeries to reverse, change, and just try and give yourself some kind of happiness in a life that is, at the moment, it feels like everyone is trying to push our lives away from us and stop us from existing and stopping us from having any kind of normal life, because we are all kind of existing on the edges of society, and we're having to do everything we can to survive work-wise and all those kind of things, just because we don't fit into what people class as normal, even though we were all born that way. It's a scientific fact. Trans people are born the way that they are. Do you think anyone would put themselves through this on purpose? Like, no trans person wants to be trans. We want to be born normal like everybody else. But at some point, you have to take responsibility for the fact that you are trans, and you have to learn to love yourself, and you have to do something with your life. Otherwise, you're just going to become another statistic, or you're just going to like beat your own self up, because no one else is going to do anything for you unless you do it yourself. So at some point, we have to take control of our own lives and try and make the best of them that we can. But we would have such an easier and a better life if we had help from our governments and our communities and our families and our friends. But especially if we were able to go through a female puberty like other women would, then we wouldn't be clocked and we wouldn't be noticed at school, and we wouldn't have the fear and danger of like, living our day-to-day lives with having people hating us just because of who we are. So we really need young people to be able to have puberty blockers way before they go through puberty. I knew who I was when I was like, as soon as I could understand thoughts in my brain, and that has never changed who I am. I'm 43 now. I've never felt like I regretted what I've done. I've never felt like I made a mistake. I've always known exactly who I was. That has never changed. Thankfully, I had parents who, when I told them how I felt, listened to me and understood that what I was saying to them was coming from a place of fact in my head, and I wasn't making it up. You know, it took them a while to understand what I was saying, but they believed me, and having that support from them from the beginning really helped me to be able to get through a lot of things that I don't think I would have been able to get through without the love and support of my friends and family. So I love and thank them from the bottom of my heart always, of how lucky I've been to have that. But so many people don't, and we just need young people to be able to be given, young trans people need as good a start and a chance as anyone else, and by giving them puberty blockers before they start their proper transitions will help them immensely. Please think about that. If anyone in a position of power that can make a difference, especially in the UK, please listen to what I'm saying. It really does make a difference. Young people, young trans people do know who they are, and they need your help. That's all I have to say today. If any of you have any views or points you'd like to make into this discussion, then please leave your comments below. I like to have a conversation about all the topics I talk about here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, lots of love. Bye bye.